All right, in our continuing saga of the TR6 with the engine that we just split and put back together, we put it in the frame. We used the skyhook to lift the engine, and then we were able to swing it into the frame and slowly lower it down and put in the major support bolts, and we're now putting in the plates. And as soon as we get it bolted down, we will start putting the top end on. So it's nice having the skyhook, because even with the two of us, it's still a very heavy engine. So even with the right side fully dressed out with the cases closed and the Kickstarter installed, we were able to put it in the frame just fine. So now we're going to do the top end. So far, so good. Making a little progress here. We cleaned all the studs, buffed them up really nicely, installed the studs, installed the base gasket, and installed the pistons. So we're going to drop the cylinders on next. I use copper coat spray gasket sealer on base gaskets and head gaskets. There are two schools of thoughts when it comes to base gaskets. There are the folks who sincerely and truly believe that you should put them on dry. And then there are people who sincerely and truly believe that you should use a gasket sealer. This is, for me, sort of a compromise between the two. I really like it, and I use it on base gaskets all the time. I've never had one creep, I've never had one blow out, so that's what I do. Anyway, so we're going to put the, we're going to drop the jugs on, and I'll get a little video after that. Okay, we're dropping the jugs on. I put grease on the face of the cam followers. I'm old-fashioned. I use these round pins under here, round rods to support the pistons. And I've got these old-fashioned piston ring compressors, nothing special, nothing fancy. And they've always worked for me, so I like them. And we'll tap it down the rest of the way and take those compressors out and drop it on. I'll show you something interesting over here in my special tools box. This whole cabinet is nothing but special tools. And I have here some square rods that I've used on some bikes, some wooden rods that I've used on some bikes, ring compressors for 650cc bikes, and this fancy dancy $35 platform type supporter that I actually sent all the way to England for, and I have used, so it's kind of cool. And then this is a special tool that I built years ago, and I have no idea what it's for. I'd have to think on that one, but I remember building it, and it does the job. Anyway, so we're halfway through putting the pistons into the jugs, or the jugs onto the pistons, and we're going to complete it right now, and I'll do another video. Okay, jugs are on, and I'm going to step around the other side. Kevin's going to give it a little spin and show you nice smooth action. No screeching noises, no clicking noises, no slamming noises, no oh my goodness noises, and everything looks great. Okay, yeah, give her a spin. Down and up. No scratches, no oil lines, no nothing. Looking really, really good. This is a 750 drop-on kit on a 650 bike. Pretty good. I bought the 12-point base nuts for the bottom because I think they look better. It was fun tightening them down, but so far so good. We're going to put the head on in the rocker boxes and keep on working. All right, ready to drop the head onto the bike. I annealed and quenched the head gasket and sprayed it with copper coat. The pushrod tubes are in place. These are late model pushrod tubes on an early model engine and a 750 drop-on kit. It's going to be interesting to see if they all fit together. Anyway, over here on the other side, I have the head all ready to go back on with spiffy racing style springs and spring keepers. The valves were done. It's looking good and getting ready to put that on. So, and here's all the head bolts all set out and the rocker boxes in that gasket, their gaskets sitting there. So everything's all set for a drop on, and let's see how it goes. Here's an interesting situation. This is an empty tube of gasket maker, and it's expensive. And I mean, there's nothing left in there, but if you take this tube and cut it open, wish I could put this down. Stand by. I'm going to cut it open. Okay, I cut the top and the bottom off of the tube, and I cut down the sides and spread it wide open. And now I'm going to scrape all that remaining gasket seal into the little yellow cap there, and there's enough to fill that cap, I'll bet you. And that's enough to do a whole freaking engine. So I'll show you the results in just a minute. And there it is. I cut the sides off, cut the top off, scraped it all out, put it into a little plastic cap off the top of a spray can. That's enough gasket sealer there to practically do a whole engine. This stuff costs like between $10 and $14 a tube, depending on where you get it. So it's worth saving all that gasket sealer that was inside the empty tube. And now I'm going to finish putting this engine together. And the fun just never stops. By the way, this gasket sealer that I salvaged, you don't have to worry about it getting hard. It's anaerobic. It doesn't settle up until you take away all the oxygen. So sitting here, it'll be just fine. It's not going to get hard. Now going back to the problem du jour, right, the problem of the minute. Here's the head sitting flush on the cylinder. There's no gap. And here's the pushrod tubes in here. They're pretty. But if you look up at this angle, you will see right up there at the top. Let me zoom in. There's the gap. These late model pushrod tubes are too short for this engine head pushrod combination, and I'm going to have to see if I can find some earlier model pushrod tubes that are about 1/4 of an inch longer in order to put the head on. So right now it's just sitting there, and the fun just never stops when you start working on what could charitably be called a basket case and putting together a bike that you didn't take apart. Little frustration here.